confirmation from our very own Foreign Secretary, Robin Cook, who's in the Far East at the moment, that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Princess Diana's marriage to Prince Charles was full of drama, betrayal, and cheating. But we never got the full picture of what happened behind palace doors. Fortunately, her former gardener has exposed everything that they don't want you to know. Don't be fooled by the public smiles and glamorous gowns. Diana's story is one of triumphs and trials, love and heartbreak, and a relentless pursuit of happiness. But what truly made Diana the people's princess? What are the untold truths behind her legacy? Join us as we discuss the mind-blowing revelations from a former royal gardener. Diana's gardener breaks her silence. Even years after her death, Princess Diana's memories remain evergreen in the hearts of everyone. Much of what he knows about her is sadly from media reports. But all that is about to change, thanks to the latest revelation from her former gardener, who likes to remain anonymous for obvious reasons. He recalls Diana as a woman of grace, empathy, and beauty. Her life appeared to be a modern fairy tale. She was a young girl who married into the British royal family and became a global phenomenon. Of course, many people, including you, did not know things were not that rosy for the fairy princess behind the palace walls. But not to worry. We will reveal the full gist that will change everything you think you know about Diana. According to the royal gardener, Diana was unlike anyone he had ever met while working in royal households. To him, Diana appears very down-to-earth and easy to connect with. Hired after Diana's marriage to Prince Charles, the gardener's primary role was to help care for the garden and cottage. But over time, his role grew far beyond the gardens. He became a confidant, a silent witness to Diana's private world, one that was sadly filled with deep loneliness, emotional turmoil, and a relentless pursuit of love and acceptance. The first thing the gardener remembers vividly is Diana's warmth. He said that Diana had a way of making you feel important. Diana was the exception in a palace where everything felt formal and distant. This warmth extended to her sons and palace staff, whom Diana often treated kindly, breaking rigid royal norms. But the sad part was that this same emotional openness made her vulnerable. According to him, it was clear that Diana's marriage to Prince Charles was not perfect. To members of the public and those who never had access to the royal family, the wedding was an ultimate shower of wealth, gifts, and splendor. But it was the beginning of Diana's terror and nightmare, a union filled with emotional distance. Even though many did not talk about it back then in public, anyone who spent enough time in the household could notice it because the tension between them was obvious. At times, Diana would go to her private room, clearly upset after an argument with Charles. She would sit on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, deep in thought. Sometimes, she would talk to the gardener, nanny, or any domestic staff and sit silently. And if you think King Charles was to blame for all of this, you are in for another shocking revelation. Yes, you can't remove King Charles from the problem, but Charles is just a small fraction of it. Royal insiders believe that the biggest issue is the British royal system. According to the gardener, the strain in Diana's marriage would have been better if the royal family had not been so rigid about expectations. Diana was expected to conform to a role that left little room for individuality or vulnerability. For instance, there was a day Diana had planned a small, informal dinner for a few close friends. It was a rare opportunity to relax and enjoy herself. But when word reached senior members of the royal household, the gathering was abruptly cancelled. The cancellation left her devastated. It was as if she wasn't allowed a sliver of normalcy. But it would have been better if the maltreatment was limited to her physical health. But sadly, they also broke Diana's mental health. Royal insiders revealed that Diana battled so much more than anyone realized. Another worker who took care of Harry and William once admitted that Diana confided in her about feelings of inadequacy and bouts of depression. According to the nanny, Diana once told her that she could barely hold it together. That is not all. After long public engagement days, Diana returned to the palace and cried. The public sees the smiles, the dresses, the waves, but no one sees her tears. No one sees how empty she felt. During these struggles, Diana never failed as a princess, mother, wife, and daughter-in-law to Queen Elizabeth. So how exactly did she manage to pull that off? You are about to find out how she managed to keep up with her life despite the turmoil of her marriage. Keep watching. Diana is a mother, princess, and wife. Despite the hardship, Diana's role as a mother was her anchor. She found fulfillment in caring for the home, and the boys were her everything. From when William and Harry were born, Diana's approach to motherhood was radical by royal standards. Now, what Diana did surprised everyone. She insisted on being hands-on, defying tradition by personally choosing their schools, attending parent-teacher meetings, and even taking them to theme parks and fast food restaurants. She wanted them to experience life outside the palace walls. She once told her domestic staff that she loved seeing her children see the real world, not just the palace's facade. That is not all. While the family stayed at Balmoral one rainy afternoon, Diana took William and Harry outside to jump in puddles. She didn't care that others in the royal family would call it improper. She just wanted them to laugh and be happy. You don't get to see the Princess of Wales soaked to the skin and laughing with her children daily. It was a rare moment and a stark contrast to the formality of royal life. Princess Diana's role as a mother was unlike anything the royal family had seen before. Diana was determined to give her sons, William and Harry, a childhood filled with love, warmth, and experiences that felt as close to normal as possible. And that determination defined every decision she made as a parent. While previous generations of royals had largely left their children's day-to-day upbringing to nannies and tutors, Diana was hands-on. She didn't just want to be involved in her sons' lives. She wanted to be their primary source of love and guidance. Surprisingly, he's not the only person to have spoken about Diana's approach to motherhood. According to another palace source, Diana's eyes always light up whenever she talks about William and Harry, and she would describe them as her greatest achievements. Determined to protect her sons from feeling trapped in a gilded cage, Diana ensured they didn't live like other royals. That is not all. Diana would plan spontaneous outings to amusement parks, museums, and McDonald's. She wanted her boys to interact with other children, stand in line like everyone else, and enjoy the simple parts of everyday life. And in case you are wondering why we're making much fuss about simple outings, well, for the British royal family, there is nothing simple. Some family members were not cool with how Diana raised the kids, and they didn't hide their opposition. But Diana was resolute. She believed her sons needed to see life beyond the confines of Buckingham Palace. For her, it was about giving them a sense of normalcy in an otherwise extraordinary life. Whether taking them to school herself or letting them pick out their clothes, Diana's goal was always to make William and Harry feel like they were like any other kids. Diana's approach to parenting wasn't just about breaking royal traditions. It was deeply rooted in her own experiences. Growing up feeling neglected and unloved, she was determined that her sons would never feel the same way. She was affectionate, often hugging and kissing them in public. Mothers in the royal family are normally expected to be strict and have formal interactions in public. He also shared an interesting story about Diana's devotion. It happened during a particularly busy week filled with royal engagements. Diana made it a point to call home every evening to say goodnight to her boys. On one occasion, when a late-night event ran longer than expected, Diana insisted on leaving early to ensure she could tuck William and Harry into bed herself. To her, being present for those small but important moments mattered more than adhering to royal protocol, and who knew she would die so soon? Diana also instilled humanity into her kids. She would take William and Harry to visit homeless shelters, hospitals, and hospices. She wanted them to see and understand the struggles that others faced, and to develop empathy and compassion from a young age. These visits left a lasting impression on both boys. For Diana, it wasn't enough for her sons to grow up as princes. She wanted them to grow up as kind and grounded human beings. Sadly, through it all, Diana fought an undeclared war. We'll explain better. You don't want to miss the next scene. Diana's struggles behind closed doors. Despite her efforts to keep her children happy, Diana faced constant criticism from within the royal family. The source revealed that there were times when Diana felt undermined. Decisions she made for William and Harry were sometimes overruled, which frustrated her deeply. Despite these challenges, Diana stayed very protective of her sons, always trying to shield them from the tensions between her and Charles. Diana never wanted them to feel stuck in the middle. According to him, one of the saddest parts of Diana's story was her endless search for love and acceptance. She gave so much to others but often felt unloved in return. Apart from her children, Diana also found hope in helping others. Helping others gave her a sense of purpose, and was one of the few things that truly made her happy. But then came another trouble: the British media. The press fired relentlessly at her. There were days when Diana wouldn't even go outside, because she knew reporters would be waiting for her. This constant attention only made her feel more isolated. She even confided in one of her staff members that she felt like living in a glass cage. Yes, it was that bad for her. Another coping strategy for Diana was her remarkable resilience. People who knew her also confirmed that she had an inner strength that helped her keep going even on her worst days. This strength was clear in how Diana created a role for herself beyond the limits of royal expectations. From her work on HIV/AIDS awareness to her campaign against landmines, she used her position to make a real difference. Reflecting on her time with Diana, the source spoke of the princess's profound impact on him, saying Diana taught him the importance of kindness. Diana stood out as a source of warmth in a cold and harsh world. This is a raw and rare account of the life of a woman who was both extraordinary and deeply human. It reminds us that behind the image of the people's princess was a woman who faced great challenges with grace, compassion, and a deep love for her children. While the world admired Princess Diana for her elegance, charm, and compassion, few truly understood the battles she faced behind the closed doors of the royal family. Beneath the glitz and glamour of her public life, Diana struggled with emotional isolation, a collapsing marriage, and the immense pressures of life as a global icon. These private battles were often invisible to the public eye, but those closest to her, like her trusted nanny, saw the weight she carried every day. We are about to reveal Diana's biggest struggle. Keep watching to find out. Yes, you guessed right. Her marriage to King Charles was a mirage. Diana's most significant struggle was her turbulent marriage to Prince Charles. What began as a beautiful romance quickly became a strained relationship. Diana lived in what many royal historians describe as isolation, emotional distance, and betrayal from the man she gave her life. And you won't believe how bad it got for her. she had to confide her feelings of inadequacy and rejection by her domestic staff. Diana believed that she would never enjoy love from Charles. Here is the catch. She knew King Charles was having an affair with current Queen Camilla. Then known as Camilla Parker Bowles, Charles's extramarital affair with her became an open secret within the royal circles. This betrayal deeply wounded Diana and increased her feelings of insecurity. She began to question her self-worth, and her mental health depreciated rapidly. People working with her complained that Diana felt trapped within an institution, prioritizing duty over personal happiness. She struggled to cope with the expectations placed upon her. Have you ever felt like an outsider within your family? That was exactly what she endured. And talking about her mental health, people witnessed firsthand how Diana's emotional pain manifested in various ways. Diana's mental breakdown. Diana's struggles with mental health started with a condition called bulimia, and Diana did not hide it from the public. This may sound unbelievable, but she developed the condition as she attempted to cope with the mental tolls of her marriage and the overwhelming pressures of palace life. She also developed an unhealthy relationship with food. As if that wasn't enough, Diana also battled depression. Her moods would fluctuate, with moments of profound sadness that seemed to consume her. She told her doctors that she often felt like she was fighting her demons alone, unsure of who she could trust within the royal household. It was more of a blessing than a curse when Diana divorced Charles. The breakdown of the marriage was a turning point in her life, both personally and publicly. Royal observers believed that the separation brought a mix of relief and heartbreak for Diana. On the one hand, it marked the end of a relationship that had caused her a lot of pain and suffering. On the other hand, it forced her to taste life as a single mother, while remaining under the watchful eye of the media. The divorce proceedings were deeply stressful. She had to bring private matters into the public domain. And don't forget, she still had to shield William and Harry from the turmoil, determined to protect them from the fallout of her failed marriage. If you think that is all, there are more shocking revelations ahead. Diana's relationship with the rest of the royal family was another source of tension. While she maintained a cordial relationship with the Queen, her interactions with other family members were often strained. Diana felt unsupported and misunderstood, particularly during the most challenging moments of her marriage. She usually described feeling like an outsider who didn't fully belong in the royal world. This sense of abandonment only added to her mental breakdown. And the worst part? She had to handle it all alone. There was simply no one there for her. But Diana always had her bright side. Despite her challenges, Diana stuck to her humanity and strength. She channeled her pain into her charitable work, finding solace and purpose in helping others. Whether it was visiting hospitals, comforting patients with HIV/AIDS, or advocating for landmine victims, Diana had compassion and empathy like no other royal family member during her days with the royal household. Royal historians believe that her acts of kindness were not just a reflection of her public persona. They were a way for Diana to find meaning and connection in a life that often felt isolating. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of Diana's struggles was her deep desire for love and acceptance. It was this vulnerability that won her the hearts of millions around the world, even as it made her journey more challenging. Diana's mental health struggles show her resilience and humanity. She faced too many challenges, from a loveless marriage and mental health battles to the pressures of royal life and media scrutiny. Yet, through it all, she remained a devoted mother, a compassionate advocate, and a symbol of hope for countless people. It is time to talk about her lasting legacy, how her life and struggles shaped her sons, her humanitarian work, and how she continues to inspire generations even decades after her passing. And the full details of her legacy will blow your mind. Princess Diana's legacy. Princess Diana's life may have been cut tragically short, but her impact will not disappear so quickly. Her legacy lives on in the lives of her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, and the countless people she touched through her humanitarian work. The woman who once described herself as a queen of people's hearts created a lasting influence far beyond the restrictions of the British monarchy. Diana reshaped the role of royalty. Before Diana, members of the royal family were often seen as distant, reserved, and disconnected from the struggles of everyday people. Diana changed all of that. She brought an unprecedented level of warmth and relatability to the royal family. Her willingness to engage directly with people, to look them in the eye, hold their hands, and listen to their stories set her apart. It was more than just a change in approach. It was a shift in the identity of what it meant to be a royal. She showed the world that royalty could mean being approachable, compassionate, and deeply human. She was actively involved in the issues she championed. Let us rewind to her visit to an HIV/AIDS ward in the late 1980s. At a time when fear and stigma around the disease were rampant, Diana did something spectacular. She shook hands with patients without gloves before the world's cameras.
Today, the hospital reckoned that the princess's visit was worth all the government propaganda put together. She met the staff and the 9 patients and shook hands with them all.
This simple yet powerful gesture challenged misconceptions and sent a clear message of acceptance and humanity. The nanny recalls how Diana often said, "They need to feel loved and human, just like anyone else." Her work with HIV/AIDS was just one part of her broader commitment to vulnerable communities. Diana also advocated for homeless people, leprosy patients, and victims of landmines. In the years following her divorce from Prince Charles, Diana intensified her focus on these causes. She traveled to conflict zones and areas of extreme poverty. Some people from her inner circle still remember how Diana was committed to her missions in Angola and Bosnia, where she walked through minefields to draw global attention to the dangers of landmines.
By visiting Angola, we shall gain an understanding of the plight of the victims of landmines and how survivors are helped to recover from their injuries.
These were not just photo opportunities for Diana, but deeply personal missions. That is not all. The impact of Diana's humanitarian efforts can still be seen today in the work of her sons. Both William and Harry have carried forward her legacy of compassion and advocacy. Prince William has focused on mental health, homelessness, and environmental conservation. His work with the Heads Together campaign, which aims to destigmatize mental health conversations, is a direct reflection of Diana's belief in addressing the root causes of emotional pain. Meanwhile, Prince Harry has championed causes like veterans' welfare and mental health through initiatives like the Invictus Games. He also works on dismantling the stigma around therapy and mental health. And he got all this from his dear mother. You might want to ask whether she made other impacts aside from philanthropy. The answer is a resounding yes, she did. Diana transformed the public's relationship with the royal family. This transformation is still felt today. The younger royals, including William, Harry, and even Kate Middleton, have adopted a more informal and approachable style. Many royal watchers believe this shift can be traced back to Diana's influence. She set a precedent for what it meant to connect with people on a human level, and that precedent has become a cornerstone of how the royal family engages with the public in the modern era. Diana's decision to speak openly about her struggles with bulimia, depression, and self-worth was groundbreaking at the time. Her openness inspired others to seek help and start conversations about their mental health challenges. Today, the stigma around mental health has reduced significantly, and many credit Diana as one of the pioneers who made it possible to discuss these issues without shame. The impact of Diana's humanitarian work and her advocacy for mental health has inspired countless organizations and individuals to carry forward her mission. Charities she supported during her lifetime, such as Centerpoint, the Halo Trust, and the National AIDS Trust, continue to grow and expand their reach. Diana lives on. Thank you for staying with us. What do you think about Princess Diana's life and times? Share your opinions with us in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, click the following video on your screen and you will enjoy it.